DD India.
Good afternoon, we are live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Israel Defense Forces bombed several Hamas missile launcher sites in Gaza. Benjamin Netanyahu convenes a meeting with security officials. Philippines summons Chinese envoy over Sunday's boat collisions in disputed South China Sea. Pakistan court indicts former PM Imran Khan and his deputy in Official Secrets Act case. India's External Affairs Minister attends G23 plantation drive in New Delhi. In 4th Asian Para Games in Hangzhou, India opens medal tally in style with medals in canoeing, high jump and club throw. Amid the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict, the Israel Defense Forces bombed several Hamas missile launcher sites in Gaza on Monday as the conflict entered its 17th day. DD India's Amritpal Singh reports from Israel.
Today is the 17th day of war, and military campaign by Israel has been intensified. All through the night on Sunday night, Israel continued to pound targets inside Gaza Strip. In fact, Israel has publicly made it clear. The government says that they will continue to keep pounding targets inside and intensify their effort. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned the Hezbollah of unimaginable consequences if they open a war front with Israel. Israeli government has started evacuating its people from its border with Lebanon. Villages, towns, cities along the Lebanon border have been completely evacuated, and people have been moved to places like Haifa, Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and other big cities of Israel. So if Hezbollah enters the war, that will have very devastating consequences on the war, because not only will it open the second front of the war in north, but also there looms a threat of regional escalation, because if Hezbollah joins in, then other countries could join in. Yesterday, on Sunday, the Syrian airports of Damascus and Aleppo were hit by Israeli airstrikes, and those airports are not working now. With Israel basically saying that that arms were being sent to Hezbollah from those airports. With cameraman SP Dubey, this is Amritpal Singh for DD India in Jerusalem.
And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu convened a meeting with security officials and his war cabinet in Tel Aviv to assess the escalating conflict with Hamas. And Netanyahu held a series of conversations with Western leaders on Sunday, asserting that the country's victory over Hamas would be a victory for the entire world. Netanyahu briefed the leaders of France, Spain and Netherlands on the ongoing Hamas offensive and underscored the determination of the people to eliminate Hamas's military and governing capabilities. He also thanked the leaders for their support for Israel and its right to defend itself. Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden has spoken to world leaders, including Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, as the conflict with Hamas continues. It comes as the Biden administration seeks to slow a possible Israeli ground invasion to allow for the release of more Hamas-held hostages. DD India's Nick Harper reports from Washington.
Well, President Joe Biden was busy on Sunday. He hit the phones to speak to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, but he also spoke to Pope Francis, the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and 4 European leaders. The Israel-Hamas conflict was very much the main topic of conversation. Washington is trying to rally allies to give more support to Israel, but also more humanitarian aid to those Palestinians who've been caught up in the conflict. But behind the scenes, Washington is reportedly also trying to stall that potential ground invasion by Israel into the Gaza Strip. It's all to do with fears over hostage safety. On Friday, we saw the release of 2 American hostages by Hamas, but there's still around 200 other hostages still being held of various nationalities. And the fear is, if there is that ground incursion, it'll make it much harder to get those hostages out safely and to get humanitarian aid in to the Palestinians. Also, on Sunday, we saw warnings from the US Secretaries of State and Defense speaking about the possibility of escalation and the conflict spreading throughout the region. There seems to be a real fear from Washington that Iran or some of Iran's allies, like the Iran-backed group Hezbollah in Lebanon, or allies in Syria, may look at this as an opportunity to try and increase and spread the conflict. We've seen an increase in activity at Israel's northern border, skirmishes there with Hezbollah firing rockets into the north of Israel. On top of all of this, Washington has put additional US troops stationed here in the US on preparedness for potential deployment, getting them ready in case they need to move to the region in a non-combat role. And on top of that, more defense systems being sent to the region. The US says it's all about protecting US troops and assets in the region. Nick Harper in Washington, reporting for DD India.
And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that French President Emmanuel Macron and Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte will visit Israel in the coming days. In a post on X, the Israel office said that Macron is arriving on Monday, while Dutch Prime Minister Rutte will come on Tuesday, and both will meet with Prime Minister Netanyahu. The LEC has not yet confirmed the visit. As Israel faces terrorist group Hezbollah from Lebanon front amidst the ongoing Israel-Hamas war, Israeli aircraft struck 2 Hezbollah cells in Lebanon early on Monday. As per the military, the attack on Hezbollah was in retaliation as they were planning to launch anti-tank missiles and rockets towards Israel. And amid the Hamas offensive, Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said the military's campaign in Gaza may take a month or more, but at the end there will be no more Hamas. Gallant was speaking after operational briefing at the Israeli Air Force Operations Command and Control Center. The minister expressed his appreciation to the Air Force and said the next stage, a widely anticipated ground operation, will come soon. Earlier, an Israeli soldier was killed by an anti-tank missile on Sunday during a raid into the Hamas-controlled Gaza Strip.
Israeli forces carried out a raid today in Gaza territory near the border as part of efforts to prepare the space ahead of an attack and as a continuation of gathering intelligence regarding missing persons and captives, a national mission of top priority. During one of the raids, an Israeli Defense Forces soldier was killed and 3 soldiers were wounded. Their families have been notified.
Several thousand people gathered in Berlin on Sunday to express their solidarity with Israel and protest against the war in the Middle East. Among the crowd were friends and family of hostages taken by Hamas during its terror attacks. German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier said the country stands with Israel and must do everything to preserve Jewish life. And about 20,000 people packed into London's Trafalgar Square to demand the release of more than 200 hostages taken by Hamas during their incursion from Gaza into Israel. Many demonstrators wept as the names of hostages were read out to the crowd. And DD India's Amritpal Singh gets us a special report on the Arabs and Jews living in the holy city of Old Jerusalem.
As the war between Israel and Hamas intensifies and Israel is preparing for ground attacks or going into the Gaza Strip, tensions are there all over Gaza and Israel. Right now I'm in the old city of Jerusalem, one of the world's oldest cities, and also something which is fiercely debated amongst the Christians, the Muslims and the Jews, because it is the holiest city for all three. What you see behind me is the Al-Aqsa Mosque. This is from where Prophet Muhammad is said to have gone into heaven to meet God. And right next, just right next to it, is the Dome of the Rock, or the Temple Dome, Temple Mount. What you see there is the Wailing Wall, which is one of the holiest places for Jews from all around the world come here and pray. In fact, this old city is divided into different quarters: the Muslim quarter, the Jewish quarter, the Armenian quarter. And when situations like this happen, the tensions here go up.
I live in Jerusalem already for 50 years. I used to be neighbors of Arabs. We got together very much together. But when they started talking on peace, and they did peace, that killed the whole situation. Let us be, we could work together, we could do everything together. Don't interrupt us.
We need to get Hamas out of there so we don't have more stuff, and we can't really do much.
Okay.
It's going to cost them a lot of soldiers if they go in and walking in with like tanks, and that's what they have to do.
There is a big problem now, for both sides, the Palestinian and the Israeli too, and we don't know when it will be going to stop. East Jerusalem, we have here what they call it, Israel, ID. And we're suffering from both sides,
Hamas, they're doing this for their land. They need to take their land back to them. Yes, it's belongs to him. And Israel, every 3, 4 years, they have war here. This is not the same times. Every 2, 3 years, we have the same problem. War, Hamas, Israel. Israel, Hamas. That's what happened here.
So clearly the opinion is divided. The sentiment on the streets of Israel clearly is that of retribution and reprisal. Here in Old Jerusalem, where both Muslims and Jews live, there are Palestinians who live. The idea, their voices, they accuse each other of having started this. And where I am standing, it is one of the most holiest places in the world for the Abrahamic faiths. And this conflict is not new. It may have just flared up now, but it's really a centuries-old conflict. With cameraman SP Dubey, this is Amritpal Singh for DD India in Old Jerusalem.
And more humanitarian aid flowed into the Gaza Strip on Sunday, humanitarian organization Palestine Red Crescent said on social media. The information posted on platform X said that a further 15 aid trucks carrying food, water and medicine arrived in Gaza by Rafah, crossing on Gaza's border with Egypt, while the first convoy of 20 trucks of badly needed supplies had entered Gaza on Saturday through Rafah, which had previously been out of operation after bombardments hit on the Gaza side of the border. Distribution of those supplies began on Sunday, but aid officials are still warning of a humanitarian disaster as supplies of food, water and fuel run low. And as India continues to evacuate its stranded nationals from the Israel-Hamas war zone, 6th flight under Operation Ajay with 143 passengers, including 2 Nepalese citizens on board, landed in the national capital on Sunday. The passengers were received by Union Minister Fagan Singh Kulaste at the Delhi airport. And India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, India's G20 Sherpa Amitabh Kant, Delhi's Lieutenant Governor and Indian Minister Hardeep Singh Puri, along with G20 delegates, took part in a plantation drive held in India's national capital. The drive aims to promote India's agenda of lifestyle for environment and combating climate change. Indian External Affairs Minister emphasized India's stand on climate change on the occasion.
the Green Development Pact, the message of women-led development, the support for digital public infrastructure, the life mission, the sustainable lifestyle for environment. At the end of it all, there was a very strong sustainability, green, global south image that came out of the G20. This G20, we would like it certainly to be remembered as a green G20, as a sustainable G20, in many ways as a G20 of the future.
Well, let's take a look at other stories making news today. Today is the 9th and the final day of the 9-day-long Durga Puja festival Navratri. The 9th day is dedicated to the worship of goddess Siddhi Datri, also known as Mahanavami. Devotees offer prayers seeking her blessings on this auspicious day. The overall air quality in the national capital of India remains under very poor category. Amid the increase in pollution levels, the air quality of Delhi has drastically worsened over the time. The government's pollution control has initiated a stage 2 of the graded response action plan implemented in Delhi NCR as an initiative to combat air pollution amid winters. Cyclone Tej, originating over the Arabian Sea, has intensified into an extremely severe cyclonic storm. The storm is currently moving northwestwards and is expected to cross 2 countries in the southern Arabian Peninsula, Yemen, Oman, by this week as a severe cyclonic storm with wind speeds gusting up to 115 to 125 kilometers per hour. The authorities urge everyone to take the needful precautions. All right, we'll slip into a very short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Argentina closes its first round of elections. We'll tell you the details ahead.
Always welcoming. The vibe of Punjab is larger than life. Warm up to grandeur that's beyond compare. And history that's dotted with tales of bravery. Smiling soul of India, where music, art, cuisine and culture comes together to create an unforgettable impression. Punjab is all set to win your hearts with its unique and colorful extravaganza.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. A Pakistani court indicted former Prime Minister Imran Khan and his deputy in an Official Secrets Acts case on Monday. Imran Khan is currently being held in a prison near Islamabad. Beijing and Manila have each blamed each other for causing the Sunday vessel collision in South China Sea. Philippines summoned the Chinese ambassador and filed a diplomatic protest. Manila has also warned that China's attempts to block its resupply missions could have disastrous results.
As we have repeatedly said in the past, continued Chinese blocking and interference by Chinese vessels with our regular and routine rotation and resupply missions RORE to BRP Sierra Madre may lead to disastrous results. While no lives were lost in the collisions yesterday, China's provocative and irresponsible actions have clearly impeded once again the safety of the Filipino crew.
And for more on this, DD India's Andrew Wood reports from Hong Kong.
Certainly the Philippines seem to be taking this seriously, with the president ordering an investigation. It's perhaps the worst thing, or the most escalation we've seen over the past few months. You may remember a year or two ago, the Philippines complained because the Chinese Coast Guard pointed, it said, a military-grade, very powerful laser at some Philippine Coast Guard vessels. There have been confrontations, more and more confrontations, over the past few months. And this seems to be the worst. At the moment, I think one worry is that that China might be distracted with what's going on in the Middle East, and might America, which is for the Philippines' ally, might be distracted also as well. So, with a bit of luck, perhaps this will de-escalate. But as I say, we've seen this trend of more and more frequent confrontations, interactions, and so on, that do seem to threaten the security or threaten the peace of the South China Sea.
Now, in Argentina presidential elections, libertarian radical Javier Milei called on voters to bring an end to Peronist rule in Argentina after he secured a spot in the runoff against Economy Minister Sergio Massa. Massa had over 36% of the votes, ahead of Milei and just over 30%, while conservative Patricia Bullrich was behind on 23.8% with near 90% of the vote counted, a result that defied pre-election polls that had predicted a libertarian win. Argentina's Economy Minister Sergio Massa and anti-establishment outsider Javier Milei will face off in a runoff presidential election on November 19th. The winner will take office on December 10th.
Today we had the most important election in the last 100 years. An election that posed if we continue with the Kirchnerism model or if we want to return to embrace the ideas of liberalism that made Argentina great in the 19th century. All countries that embrace the ideas of liberalism progress.
On the latest, the Russian and Ukrainian armies continue to exchange fire on Sunday, with each saying hitting the other's military targets that include fighter jets, drones and artilleries. On Sunday, the Russian Defense Ministry issued a report stating that the Russian army repelled multiple attacks by the Ukrainian army in Kupiansk, Liman, Donetsk and other directions and hit Ukrainian arsenals, fuel depots and other targets. On the same day, a report released by the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces showed that in the past 24 hours, the Ukrainian army continued to engage in fierce battles with the Russian army in Bakhmut, Avdiivka, Melitopol and other directions. Let's take a look at other stories making news today across the globe. South Korea, together with Japan and the United States, held a joint aerial exercise near the Korean Peninsula on Sunday. As per South Korean military, this drill is first such collaboration between the three countries. South Korea's Air Force further said in a statement that the drill is aimed to expand the country's response capabilities against North Korea's nuclear and missile threats. Indian-born novelist Salman Rushdie received the prestigious Frankfurt Book Fair Peace Prize for continuing to write despite enduring decades of threats and violence. The author spent years in hiding after Iran urged Muslims to kill him because of the writing. Earlier, Rushdie was stabbed during a lecture in New York State, which left him blind in one eye and affected the use of one of his hands. And two wild giant pandas were captured by camera in a tranquil state enjoying sunbath at a natural reserve in Hangzhou city of China's Shanxi province. The rare footage was shot by staff members of the Changqing National Natural Reserve during patrolling. It reveals a giant panda club comfortably lounging on a tree basking in the warm sunlight. And Mexico City's streets came alive as hundreds of skeletons paraded on the capital's main boulevard as part of Day of the Dead festivities. Mexicans painted and got dressed up as the iconic Mexican skeleton for one of the city's many events for Day of the Dead, a pre-Hispanic tradition in which families remember the dead and celebrate the continuity of life. All right, sports updates now. We'll start with Cricket World Cup. India continued the supreme run in the World Cup. The men in blue defeated New Zealand by 4 wickets in Dharamshala on Sunday. This was India's 5th win from the same number of matches, an outcome which helped the hosts climb to the pole position in the 10-team points table. India, who were asked to chase a stiff target of 274, wrapped the proceedings with 2 overs to spare. Virat Kohli was the leading figure in India's run chase, scoring 95. Ravindra Jadeja too played a good hand with the bat and returned unbeaten on 39 of 44 deliveries. Earlier, Mohammad Shami's 5-wicket haul restricted New Zealand to below par score of 273. Darrell Mitchell scored 130 while Rachin Ravindra scored 75. And Pakistan and Afghanistan renew their rivalry today at the MH Chidambaram Stadium in Chennai. Pakistan started the World Cup with wins over Netherlands and Sri Lanka, but the 1992 champions then suffered back-to-back losses to India and Australia. They have slipped to 5th in the 10-nation table, with the top 4 going through to the semis, while Afghanistan pulled off a shock victory over defending champions England, but have also slumped to 3 defeats. The Afghans have come close on numerous occasions to beat Pakistan, but failed to cross the line. The match is slated to start at 1400 IST and 8:30 AM GMT. And talking about 4th Asian Para Games being held in Hangzhou, China, India's Prachi Yadav opened India's medal tally at the 4th Asian Para Games, winning the silver medal in canoeing in women's VL2 category. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi has congratulated Prachi for her silver medal win. He posted on the social media platform X, and I quote him, "Prachi Yadav etches her name in the history of Indian sports by securing the first medal at the Asian Para Games. Congratulations to Prachi Yadav on winning the remarkable silver medal win in the para canoeing women's VL2 final. Her incredible performance has made the entire nation proud," unquote. And in men's high jump T63 category, India swept the podium. Shailesh Kumar won the gold medal with a games record of 1.83-meter jump, bagging India's first gold in the 4th Asian Para Games. Paralympics gold medalist Mariyappan Thangavelu with a jump of 1.80-meter gets silver, and Ram Singh Padihar 1.78-meter gets bronze in 3-way contest. And in men's club throw F51 category, India clinched all 3 medals, which was there for the taking. Pranav Surma won the gold medal in men's club throw F51 category. Dharambir settled for silver, while Amit Saroha bags a bronze medal. Now, in an exclusive conversation with my colleague Munmun Bhattacharya, Gilbert F. Hongbo, Director General of the International Labour Organization, shared his analysis on the future of the labour market in India. Here's an excerpt on that. You can watch the full interview on In Conversation with the guest, 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time on 2:30 or 2:30 p.m. GMT on October 24th on DT India.
We want to applaud that record low level of the global unemployment and a lot of positive development in terms of the labor market in India. We want to, and we are working. ILO is a very our relationship and our partnership and cooperation with the government of India through the Ministry of Labor is quite very dynamic, and we want to continue working together and keep pushing for continued improvement of the protection side, the social protections side, the respect of and implementation about the fundamental principle and right at work, including child labor, forced labor, the social dialogue as well, which we have seen a steady progress, and we just want to encourage that progress to continue.
All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.